Hello and welcome back to an episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben. One of the best books I've ever read, of the three that I have, is called A Higher Call. It tells the story of American World War II bomber pilot Charlie Brown, whose plane took heavy damage over German territory in late 1943. When Charlie Brown saw a German fighter pilot, a legendary ace known as Franz Stiegler, pull up on his tail, he figured that was it. Doom. He was helpless in his dying plane. He probably thought at that moment that he'd never see the purple mountain majesties and amber waves of grain again. But what happened next was nothing short of a miracle. The German pilot attempted to escort him out of enemy territory safely. Now, I'm not going to tell you what happened because this is a book I'm happy to recommend that you read. And if you do, message me on the Generation Films Instagram and let me know what you thought. But the question is, why did Stiegler help the American? Well, there were a number of reasons, such as his faith and his own personal disdain of Hitler. Fighter pilots are often just a cut above the rest. Flying jets is a game of the elite. It is said the air up there will change you, but I say it's the pilots, men like Roy Fokker, who change the air. They are the angels in the sky, the birds of war, the Tom Cruises above the clouds, and today we honor them with a list of the best space fighter pilots in science fiction. At number 7 we have Tom Paris from Star Trek Voyager. Paris was a Starfleet officer who served as flight control officer aboard the USS Voyager under the command of Captain Kathryn Janeway. Though he wasn't often seen in action as a fighter pilot per se, he had the skill to fly just about anything. The son of Starfleet Admiral Owen Paris, Tom took an interest in piloting at a young age, as his father would take him for trips in various shuttlecraft. During his time at the Academy, he honed his already developed skills in all sorts of different vessels. Paris was actually the first human pilot to reach Warp 10, a speed at which the body mutates into an amphibious life form that can no longer process oxygen. Or as we Earthlings say, Congressman. Paris is on this list though for his piloting of the Delta Flyer, a specially designed shuttlecraft with Borg-inspired weaponry that the crew of the Voyager used for various off-ship missions. As Paris was part of the team that developed the craft, he is the only pilot on this list who helped develop the ship that he's known for flying. Paris was actually known as a bit of a reckless pilot, but as I told all of the cops that pulled me over for speeding back in the day, it's everybody else that doesn't know what they're doing, and I should be able to drive 120 miles per hour through heavy traffic. At number 6, I have to go with Stephen Hiller. Whereas the other pilots on this list all had the benefit of having access to advanced science and technology, Hiller was just a modern-day Marine fighter pilot who took on an advanced alien army. Hiller makes me proud to be a human. He demonstrated what a Marine can accomplish with enough determination. He was able to outsmart and take down an alien ship in just an FA-18 fighter jet, almost as impressive as the time he chased down an alien on foot on the streets of NYC. With the assistance of only a single Jeff Goldblum, Hiller was able to figure out how to operate one of the alien ships, despite never having flown anything but human-designed planes. He flew this ship into space, infiltrated the alien mothership, launched a nuke inside of it, and escaped, all the while evading the fire of aliens in pursuit. It almost seemed like Hiller could fly the alien ship better than the aliens themselves could. At number 5 we have Grig from The Last Starfighter. I have no idea what race Grig is, I just call him an armadillo, but what I do know is that he's a damn underrated pilot. Grig served in the Star League's military forces as a navigator, a position which required him to pilot Gunstar fighters. Grig was both incredibly amiable and brave at the same time. It's kind of a cool mix. On one hand, he was so sweet to Alex Rogan.
Star Navigator First Class Grig, at your service, sir.
On the other, he dragged Alex, unprepared, into a battle against the entire Kodan Armada with no support.
I'll have it all figured out by the time we reach the frontier.
What's that?
The frontier.
But they won, and though Alex played a big part in that as the Gunstar's gunner, it was Grig who both navigated the ship and directed Alex at the same time. Grig's secret to success was that he simply did not believe in death, and once you're not afraid of death, you tend to become capable of a level of badassery that normal people are not.
Death is a primitive concept I prefer to think of them as battling evil in another dimension.
At number 4, we have Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. Despite being a bit of a doofus, the reason that Quill became such an adept pilot was that he fell into crime early on, as he was lovingly abducted by the Ravagers crime syndicate at 8 years old, and began piloting a ship known as the Milano for them at that young age. As Quill spent his youth as an outlaw running looting and pirating missions, he eventually developed into an adept pilot. Now, as a footnote, some might argue that it's actually Rocket Raccoon that is the greatest pilot in Guardians of the Galaxy, as the two accomplished a lot as co-pilots, including surviving multiple battles and navigating through a quantum asteroid field. It'd be safe to say that both of them belong on the list of greatest fighter pilots ever. But where Raccoon is cybernetically engineered to pilot a spacecraft, Quill is all natural talent, and I have to give the edge to him for that. And if you think that's unfair, you're probably right. This channel is systemically biased against raccoons. At number 3, we have Poe Dameron. Poe Dameron got his start the same way all successful pilots do in Star Wars. He was a drug smuggler. Nothing better cultivates skills in evasion than constantly running away from the police/Imperial forces. Yeah, Han Solo was good, but Poe didn't need a savage beast to help him fly. Nope. His accomplishments were the result of pure human prowess. As a member of the Resistance, Poe pulled off some of the most incredible maneuvers ever seen in the galaxy. And what makes his feats extra impressive was that he couldn't use the Force. He was all raw skill. In his specialized T-70 X-Wing starfighter, he could single-handedly turn the tide in major battles. Poe Dameron's secret weapons were his balls, which were about the size of Naboo's smallest moons. He'd fly into highly dangerous situations, we're talking 99% chance of death for the average Resistance pilot, and somehow come out alive, like the time he ignored his orders and attacked a First Order dreadnought by himself. He was so brave he even dared to stand against the galaxy's greatest villain, Admiral Holdo. Number 2 on our list is Starbuck. The Viper is legendary in the history of the 12 colonies as the primary attack craft of the colonial fleet during the Cylon War. It was the very bane of its enemies. And if seeing a Viper fly onto the radar screen meant a headache for the Cylons, then seeing Kara Starbuck thrace in the cockpit meant a brain aneurysm. Starbuck was perhaps the greatest Viper pilot in history. Her father was a musician and her mother was a sergeant major in the Colonial Marine Corps. Starbuck's father raised her to be kind and empathetic to others. This is probably why it's good that her mother beat her throughout her childhood, so she came to accept pain as normal. She became numb to it. By the time she left home to join the military herself, Starbuck was ready to be a soldier. She had quite an attitude, but her talent as a pilot was so undeniable that she managed to excel in the fleet and eventually attain the rank of Commander Air Group, the senior pilot aboard a Battlestar responsible for air wing operations and personnel. Her accomplishments in the Viper fighter are so numerous that her history almost reads as the myth of a Greek god. And indeed, some have come to see her as a god of war, Ares in the skies. And finally, number 1. In all of the wars and battles that have taken place in the skies and beyond, there have been many great and heroic pilots whose feats are incomparable, whose efforts were essential in achieving victory for their armies. But there is only one man, just one, whose every fiber, every molecule was designed for dancing through the ether in the cockpit of a fighter jet. There is only one pilot that some consider not even a man, but an extension of his fighter itself. Yes, many armies have their legendary pilots, but Macross and Earth's forces had Max Stirling. Some say both of his parents died when he was just a boy, but I believe this is cover. I believe he was born from the very fighters he went on to wield as a sword in the hand of Lancelot. Max had perfect judgment in the air. His senses missed no enemy nor speck of dust within a light year. The VF-1A Valkyrie was a formidable jet for sure. It could transform from jet to battleoid and take on multiple enemies at once. But its true potential was not reached until Max sat in its cockpit. With him at the helm, it seemed as if the jet could move more efficiently. Its weapons could fire more accurately than the vessel's capabilities even allowed for. Even one of the Zentradi's best pilots, Milia or Miria depending on version, realized that any attempt to best Max's skills in flight combat were futile, and so she did what any reasonable woman would do. She had his babies. Listen, I love me some Hikaru, also known as Long Dick Rick Hunter, but without Max, humanity might very well have succumbed to the alien forces. Max had one talent, flying, but that one talent was so exceptional that all who came before and all who followed are but wind in his shadow. Anyway, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know who I failed to include on this list that should be on here. If you did enjoy it though, please do give it a big thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. For now, my name is American Ben, and I'll catch you next time. Generation Films, peace.